Hey, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Talk Perspective podcast with your host, Danita Baby. And today we have a special guest by the name of Karla Grzymala. Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's
Hey, I
perfect.
got it. Okay. And she is a professional photographer as well as the founder of Be a Good Human Ed Foundation.
Mhm.
Okay, and you have a passion to help young artists kind of like find a path by using their talents, right?
Yes, that's the basis of everything. Yeah.
Okay, so you mind telling us a little bit more about Karla and who she represents?
Yeah. So, my name's Karla Grzymala. I am a local photographer here. I was also an art educator for 9 years, in the Round Rock, Austin area, Georgetown as well. So I've been really involved with kids and arts since childhood. I mean, my parents could not get a paintbrush out of my hand ever. I was always doing something creative. And you know those aptitude tests in high school where it's like, take this test and it's going to tell you what you should be.
Mm-hmm.
No joke. Every test I took was like artist, art teacher, something to do with the arts. So
Wow.
naturally, I tried nursing school. I don't know why. And I was having a really hard time. It just wasn't my passion. And so I finally talked to my parents into letting me go to photography school. And I got a degree in commercial photography. And then I came back to Austin and decided that I also wanted to teach because I've always mentored kids and worked with kids. So that's kind of how I ended up, even with the Be a Good Human Education Foundation. It's just tying all of my passions together. I left teaching at the end of last school year. So it's been about a year now that I've been doing my photography full time, not part time,
Mm.
and just pursuing this foundation that I started also last year.
Okay, perfect. So the Be a Good Human Foundation, can you tell us a little bit more about how that came to be about and what were like your inspiration and motivations behind it?
Yeah. So as a teacher, every day I would tell my kids when they left the classroom, you're supposed to launch them with something. And so I was always like trying to come up with something witty. But at some point I was like, you know what? Just be a good human, make good choices.
Mm.
Like go on to the rest of your day with that, like be a good human in mind. And it just was something that I said to them every day after that, like just be a good human, make good choices, be a good human. If you learn nothing else in my class, if you don't learn how to draw or paint, just be a good human and we're going to be okay. So it
Yeah.
was kind of just like who I was as a teacher. And I think I embodied that as a teacher as well. I always had really great relationships with all my kids, and just treated them like young adults and just always had that like respectful relationship going back and forth. And I think when the kids think about me or talk to me even now, they're like, yeah, I saw this thing and it said, be a nice human, or it said, be kind. And it made me think of you. And that to me, I was like, okay, I did my job right. Right. Like,
Right.
I'm like, they remembered something. So then when I was last 2 semesters ago thinking about leaving teaching, I was like, okay, I still want to work with kids. Like I really do have a passion for kids who love the arts, kids that like to do community like projects. And that's what I did a lot as a teacher. We did murals, we did community gardens. I always got the kids outside of the school to do things that really made a difference in their communities. So I would let them come up with the idea, the concept, the drawing, the whole mural would be their art kind of mashed together,
Mhm.
or their concept on a bench or whatever it was that we were making for the community at that time. And that was what I was thinking about. I was like, okay, well, I always had to fundraise. I always had to like sell chocolate. I don't know if you knew, like a few years ago here in the neighborhood, I was selling chocolate everywhere. Like I was
Oh,
the chocolate
mm-mm.
lady. People were like, do you have some of the almonds? Like I'll buy 20 of them, and it was like, yes. So I was always like working more to like raise money so that my kids could have these experiences too. So in the thought of like, how can I keep doing this? How can I help other teachers or other community leaders kind of continue to do that? Was like, I need to start a foundation. People aren't just going to give me money, right? They
Right.
want something legitimate. So I started the nonprofit Be a Good Human Education Foundation with the idea in mind that eventually I'll be able to fund grants. I'll be able to give out scholarships. I'll be able to continue what I was doing as a teacher, but helping others do that as well. What I've been doing in the last year as I'm like figuring out all the little steps and pieces that this foundation is going to be is mentoring some of my former students. So I've gotten a couple students art up in a gallery downtown Austin.
Oh,
I've helped one of my
wow.
students sell $500 worth of his art, and all that money goes directly to him, to help him just, after high school, figure out where he wants to go. And just like that's the pieces that have been falling into place and where I think I've been making the most difference.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to ask a little bit more about the students that you help art-wise. Okay, yeah. So I would like to ask a little bit more about what types of art that you help kids with.
So really, when I was teaching, and this is also probably good to tie into the last thing we talked about.
Okay.
My last year teaching, I went into my friend's advanced painting class. Like she has like all the level 4 kids who are like getting college credit for it. Just the really advanced painters. And so I was in her class because it was when my break was. So I would go in there and talk to her and then like walk around and see what her students were making. And I met this kid, his name's Vincent, and this is the one that I've helped sell some of his art. And I'm like sitting there watching this kid draw these amazing drawings. And this was a painting class, but she let them really pick how they wanted to present their portfolio. And so he's really good at like illustrations, kind of looks like comic book drawings, things like that.
Mm.
And I was just like, whoa, like you did that so fast. Within an hour and a half, he had finished this whole drawing with so many details. And I was like, I can't even draw that fast. I was like, tell me your secrets. And so I kind of met this kid and was like, all right, well, how did you learn how to do this? And then his middle school art teacher happened to be one of my friends. So when I mentioned him, she's like, oh my gosh, he like is so good. And she remembered him from 4 years prior and was like, he's so talented and this and that. So I
Mhm.
was talking to him a lot throughout the year, like, okay, well, sell your pieces, sell me a piece. I love this. My husband loves this TV show, one of like Squid Games or something that he drew. And I was like, can I buy it from you? And
Right.
then towards the end of the school year, he started hanging out in my classroom because he had like an off period at the end of the day and he wouldn't go home all the time. And he had a couple friends in that class. So he would just come hang out in my class and draw and like hang out with his friends. And so we got to know each other a lot more. And I was like, wow, like, what are you planning to do next year? Are you going to go to college? And he was like, actually, I don't think I will. My parents can't really afford it. And I was like, okay, well, do you want to like sell your art? Like, how are you feeling about it? And that's when I asked my friend, can I put my kids' work up in your gallery this summer? I would love
Right.
to like launch the Be a Good Human Education Foundation. And Vincent really got me thinking, like, how am I going to help kids who can't afford to go to school? And if they want to go to art school is more expensive. So it's like, how can I at least make a little
Mhm.
path or a little difference? And so for him, it was starting the pieces of like, okay, we're going to sell your art. I'm not going to be able to give you money right now, but eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to give you a scholarship. But I was like, let's try to sell your art at least. So if you want to continue doing any like art classes, you can do that. And so he was a
Right.
drawer and I helped him. And I told you we got like maybe like $500 worth of sales since last summer for him, which is really good for an 18-year
Yes,
old
that
kid.
real good.
And then another girl I met in that class, her name's Gianna. She's an amazing oil painter. Like oil-based paint is really hard to work with. I still don't even know how to master it because I didn't really go into that kind of paint when I was younger. And with her, it's like getting her name out there, establishing her Instagram, making sure she's posting, sharing. She's not quite ready to sell her art because she still has another year and a half left of high school. So it was more like, okay, let's get your name out there. Let's get all this artwork like out on display. And that way, when you're ready to sell it, then we can start posting it and I can help you I put it up in the gallery as well, like I did
Right.
Vincent. And just kind of giving them those little steps, like let's put you in a gallery, let's invite people to meet you in person. And we did this whole gallery opening. They were so cute. They were like talking to all these people about their art, and at the end of it, they were like buzzing. When you just have all that excitement, and they were super like excited and just I can't believe my art was up in an Austin gallery. And I was like, yeah, you're so talented, like you deserve this and more, right? So
Yeah, I love
any type of
it.
art, like I've worked with digital artists, I've worked with painters, I've worked with mural artists. So it's really cool in that aspect that I've had all these experiences, so I can kind of guide the kids to like meet other artists that are already out there doing it, maybe connect to them to another mentor that's more in like what they want to do. So that's been the fun part for me, is just kind of like guiding them and being like, oh, you need to meet this person. Oh, you need to sell your stuff here, you know? So really any type of art. And I've also worked, I'm not that great with ceramics, like 3D, but I've done it and I've taught it.
Mhm.
So I can also help kids who are really interested in that like 3D world as well.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because what I'm kind of hearing now is that you were kind of in a class and you kind of seen these students and you kind of picked them out. So what does that look like even now and future wise for a student that might be, or a young person that might be interested in being a part of your foundation? Because is it just you picking out certain students, or is there a way that if they're interested, they could come to you as well?
I feel like right now, because it's not that big, it's like it's a baby, right? This
Right.
whole process is like this baby foundation. It's about just contacting me. And I'm working right now on trying to figure out if I can do a fall student gallery. So I've been talking to my teacher friends and being like, hey, if you have any students that stand out that you think would do really well, that have a collection of at least 10 pieces that I can look at, because I then will pick what goes up in the gallery and how I'm going to
Right.
hang it up. So right now it's like pretty local, because it's like I'm using my teacher friends to find some of their star students. But I also feel like if you or anybody in the community is like, you have to meet this kid, like look at their art, I would gladly. So I feel like right now it's like word of mouth recommendations, and then me talking to like the teachers that I know in the area. And then eventually, I feel like there's going to be an application process of some sort as we start growing and I start mentoring more kids. I'll have that set up as where they apply, they submit like 10 photos of their art and like a statement of like what do they want to do with their art, and then kind of go from there, which is kind of how you apply for any type of art scholarship anyways,
Right.
right? So it's like you kind of have to like apply and go from there.
Right. So, is it safe to say that the ultimate goal for the foundation is to be able to fund students to be able to network or go to art school or whatever it may be that they want to pursue, right?
Yes, for sure. And you know, they're young, they think they know everything. And
Mhm.
it's very eye-opening when I'm like, hey man, you gotta have a bank account. And they're like, what? I'm like, how am I supposed to give you money if you haven't set up a bank account? And so with like the mentorship side of it, I've been like, okay, let's start a bank account. You can get a Venmo or some way that you can accept money from people if they buy your art while we're out selling it. Okay, now that we have that, let's sell things through Instagram. This is how you set up your business account. So there's a lot of that like small business mentorship along the way. But yes, ultimate goal, my dream is to just give out scholarships at some point, continue the mentorship program, have other people who want to mentor kids come and help and like offer their time and their like advice to the kids as well. And just kind of keep that artist community going. And when I was thinking like our gardens weren't very artistic, right? Like it wasn't like you have to be an artist to make a garden. It was just
Right.
designing like what pieces do you want. So I almost like don't even want to say it's just for artists, because if someone came and I had money to give out for a grant and they're like, I want to build a garden, I would totally help someone build a garden, because that still beautifies like the community,
Right.
you know. So there's different aspects to it. I think because I'm a former art teacher, I tend to like lean towards the art students, but there could be any student that could benefit from. That's why it's be a good human.
Right.
Because if you want to do good things in your community, then you're being a good human. So that's where it's like there's so many like different aspects, but I am very art focused right now. I know it's going to grow into something else too.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely all about the growing. So, since we're kind of already touching on a question I did want to ask you, I'll just go ahead and kind of dive into it. So, you kind of talked about what you would like for it to look like future wise, right? Or and how the children will be benefiting, or the young adults. I'm saying children, but young
Yeah.
adults will be benefiting. As of right now, if a student was to come to you and want to join the foundation, what are some of the core benefits of them working with you? Because I heard you saying about the bank account and things like that, but I just kind of want you to just clarify what that looks like right now.
Yeah. So right now it's just kind of like a mentorship. What do you want to do? Do you want to sell art? Do you just want some guidance on like how to put a portfolio together? So it's really meeting them where they're at in their journey, but with the intention of growth. So if you're just starting out putting a portfolio together that you want to share, or a website, or how are you, I talk a lot about like brand, like what does your brand look like? You as the artist, like don't put your personal Instagram, Karla 2345. Like it would be art by Karla, or my photography one is Raphael photography.
Mhm.
So it's just like finding that niche of like, you can still have all your personal social media and all of that, but start thinking about how are you going to brand yourself and how you want your mini company to look like, right? So
Right.
there's a lot of that like next steps mentorship in there. And it's right now I have one student that I'm consistently working with. Last year I was working with more. But I think it's just kind of like preparing yourself for what's next in your journey. What do you want to do with it? How do you apply to art school? What art schools are legitimate and which ones are not? Stuff like that.
Right. It sounds like you have a lot to offer to anyone that's interested in the program. So that's always good.
And
Always
that
good.
that was my goal too with teaching. I would always tell the kids, like, this is the type of job that you could do with this skill. I always tied outside world to it because there's value in that. Growing up, everyone always told you if you're going to be an artist, you're going to be a starving artist. And that's not true. I mean, it can be, but if you work hard and you know where to like go, that's definitely not true. So I think that's important too, is like getting rid of the stigma of the starving artist and letting kids explore these careers that are actually really well paid, like graphic design, video game design, things like that. So that's part of that mentorship too, is like, well, what are you interested in? Look at these careers that you can do with that too.
Oh, you know what? That would be so helpful because obviously that is something that goes around, or a stereotype when it comes to that. And, even for me on Facebook, when I'm in the different groups, a lot of people, they talk about that, even when it comes to writing a book, it's so much, I think, negative perspectives behind that, right? And they kind of, it's kind of accepting, I guess, maybe so to speak. So this is what writing looks like. It looks like a person that basically is struggling to make it. It's not a
Mhm.
rewarding career, but I definitely agree with you because these jobs, I think not jobs, these careers are very well paid. I do,
Mhm.
however, feel it is very important to know the navigation of it and networking.
Yes.
And I think when you have those two, then yeah, it can be rewarding.
Yeah, and that's
And
part
hard
of it.
work too. Hard work too.
Yeah, like if I had a me when I was growing up in high school, maybe I would not have gone to nursing school. Like, I would have taken the right path right away. But I think it's important to really guide kids in seeing like there's so many, especially nowadays with so much technology, there's so many careers out there that can mix different things that they're strong at,
Right.
right? And it's like taking those strengths and skills that they have and being able to use it in a way that's going to benefit them. And no, not there's not, I mean, there are starving artists out there, but it's hard work and you have to know which way to do it. Like you just said, right? Like the right path.
Yeah, you do. You
Mm-hmm.
have to know the right path or you will
Mm-hmm.
hit a dead end. But that's kind of like with anything we do,
Yeah,
You
for
have to
sure.
have a path. Definitely have to have a path. So another thing I want to ask you, I know that it's predominantly for um, the younger generation. Any have you ever helped like an adult or would that be something interesting? Let's say if someone sees this interview and maybe they're a starving artist, but they're an adult. Is that something that you could equally help with?
Yeah, I
Of that
think
age, maybe, or at least give any type of advice or anything like that, maybe.
for sure. I feel like as even me as an adult leaving teaching, which was something that was stable and like following my career path of being a full-time photographer, it was very scary because I have business, but is it enough, right? Am I making enough money to cover what I was making as a teacher? And I think a lot of people struggle with like the stability versus, following their passions.
Right.
And one of the things I think that's really important is networking for sure. And like building your brand to look like what you want it to look like, right? Because I've worked really hard for the I started in photography 18-ish years ago, and my journey has shifted and changed, and the things that I want to do have shifted and changed. But I feel like for an adult, I would gladly connect them to people that I know that are maybe in the industry that they're in, have them out to any events that I'm hosting where other artists and other people are coming to like meet each other and see what's going on. And networking is huge. That's how I've been able to continue in my journey as a photographer and really be able to make it now. I feel like I told my husband the other, I was like, I feel like an artist. Like I can say legit, I'm an artist. Like I'm not tying myself to the art teacher because for so long that was my identity. And I feel like now it's like I'm painting murals, I'm doing photography, I'm doing the things that I've always been passionate about. It took a little while. It took longer, I think, than I wanted, but I think because I didn't have anybody that was like me to guide. I was figuring a lot of things out on my own. So I think with any adult, I would be gladly connect them, network. I don't know that I would help them step by step because you are an adult.
Right.
Like I feel like they could figure out how to start a bank account. But I would definitely just give them tips. And, I've been very lucky to meet the right people at the right time in this last year and a half. And that's really helped my business kind of propel forward. And I think that's also just a blessing too.
Right. I want to talk about that. You're kind of like your transition because you did state that it was frightening, but from where you started now, I'm sure you would say it's rewarding. So with that being said, how has that been? Just kind of give us, I'm trying to make sure I'm saying it correctly, but just basically, if you were to encourage the upcoming student that was interested in it and scared, what encouragement would you give them based on your own experience in your own journey?
I feel like when you're younger, you really don't have that much to lose, right? Like follow your dreams, but get a degree or get a certification or learn more about what it is that you want to do with your life. Like don't just expect that it's going to come easy because that's not the case. It's not easy. Nothing worth having comes easy, right? Everything's hard work. And don't be scared to talk to people. I feel like I used to be really shy right out of high school. With my friends, I'm fine. I'm like outgoing, but meeting new people was really hard for me. So I think it's like, don't be scared to just like ask, like, can you help me figure this out? Can you mentor me? Can I come like shadow you on a photo shoot? Or can I come see your art studio? Whatever that looks like. There's so many businesses that love having kids come in and intern, shadow, just like hang out, talk to people that are doing these kind of like artsy jobs. I had reached out to one studio in LA and I don't know, I had this dream of taking my kids to LA to this animation studio. I was dreaming pretty big that school year. But they were like, totally, if you're in town, like let us know. We'll let the kids come in and like meet the different departments. And so it's kind of cool to see that there are places you can reach out to just to like kind of see what's going on and what does the job entail? What does the day-to-day look like? And I think that's really important is just like find out as much as you can about what you want to do so that you're not so scared about it, right? Like,
Right.
I think like the more you know, the more you give yourself the tools to kind of follow that path. And it doesn't come easy for me. I'm almost 40 and now I'm finally doing what I want to do. Right. So it's like one of those things that you just kind of have to keep going and never give up and learn. I love learning. I always do workshops and things to like get better at what I do. And just go out and just absorb all that and put it in that toolbox, and then you'll have like so many tools to be able to figure out what you want to do.
Right. And one last question too. How long was that journey? Like from your beginning to now where you're kind of like you were saying, I am an artist now and you're kind of in a good place. How long did it kind of take you to get there?
I feel like I left college in 2010. I left California and moved to Austin. I'm from Houston, so I'm from Texas, but I decided Austin because I feel like it has a little bit more art culture in it. It's a little more
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Houston's pretty cool, but Austin was good.
Yeah.
So in 2010, I moved here with this. I kind of had a big head and was like, I'm gonna get the best job ever, and I'm gonna do this. And then it didn't come. I was working at Glamour Shots for like of summer and was like, what am I doing with my life? I didn't go to college to work at Glamour Shots. So then I started figuring out, okay, I love kids. I really love art. What if I start my photography business, but I get my teaching certification so that I can teach while I build my business?
Mm,
So in 2014, I became a teacher. And that by then I had already started my business. So I was like shooting on the weekends, getting things, scheduled for the holidays and trying to get weddings, anything I could to like just be out there getting all the photo shoots I could get. And then it took from 2014 to 2022 to really like to be like, okay, I got this. I think I could have done it sooner, but with the pandemic, I was a little scared to like take the leap, you know?
right. Right.
It kind of like, because at that point I was kind of thinking, no, maybe I could start doing photo shoots full time and I'll shoot more weddings, whatever that looks like. Um, and then the pandemic happened and I was like, I don't want to do any weddings. I don't want to be around people. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So that was another shift, right? Like it was like, okay, what else can I do with this? So then I started doing commercial photography and product photography and anything that I could do by myself in I have a home studio here. And that's kind of where I was like, okay, I can do this.
Right.
It took time, but I think most journeys do. Some
They
people are so
do.
lucky and it happens for them right away. But I think we talked about this the other day. It's just like
Mhm.
there's so many steps to get to where you want to be, and you can't take anything as a failure. It's just the step that's in that moment, and you just move forward, right? And
Right.
it kind of builds and goes, and who knows where I'll be a year from today. But right now I'm like super stoked. I'm starting to do murals again. I'm starting to book, photo shoots, pretty big photo shoots consistently. And I think it's just like, just keep going, right? Like that motivation
Right.
kind of hit, and it's like, just keep going. And if next year things change, they change. But for right now, I'm in this step and this, chapter of my book, and it's good and I love it.
Right.
I hope it continues, but I'm just taking it day by day and step by step. And I think that's the important thing is like, don't beat yourself up when it doesn't go
Right.
exactly how you thought it would go.
Well, definitely congrats to your success and where you are now. Could you share with the listeners where to reach you at? And by the way, I think I've already told you this, but when you do share the information, definitely let them know about your website. I thought it was beautiful and breathtaking
Thank
when I
you.
first went on your website. It really was. And it definitely was a representation of, your arts and what you're capable of. But could you tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. So on Instagram, you can find me at ATX photo underscore Karla. And so I'm a big foodie. That's my personal one, but it does link to all the different things that I do. So it has the Be a Good Human on there. It has my photography business on there. So at ATX photo underscore Karla with a K. And then you can see all the delicious food I eat all the time. And just get to know me as a human, because I think that's the most important thing is like a human connection with each other. And that's how
Right.
you like meet and build relationships and do all the things that come with that.
Okay, and then your websites. So does the link come, hold up, your link on Instagram, does it
It
lead to the
is.
website?
It
Okay.
is. Yeah. So I feel like it's easier than that's my maiden name. We're in the process of rebranding. So all of that will be changing in the next 6 months or so. Not terribly, but I'm kind of streamlining all of the businesses into one final page.
Right, you got
It's
it.
too much to have like all these things. I do have beagoodhumanef.org. That's the Be a Good Human website, but you can find all that through my Instagram too. Everything's kind of on there.
Okay, perfect. And definitely we'll have the links and stuff where they can find you as well. Well, I definitely want to thank you for being a guest on the Let's Talk Perspective podcast. Is there any last things you want to say or anything else?
Just be a
Any
good human and make good choices. Like start off your day that way. I promise it changes your life.
Agreed. I agree. Definitely. I love to start my day off positive, and I hate it if someone interferes with that. It's
I know
nothing
it's
worse
hard.
than starting off in a negative space. It's like the day has so much to bring already, where it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be chipping at your bright and happiness in the morning. So where you definitely don't want to start it off like that.
No, yeah, just
I agree
approach
with
the
that.
day with positivity. And when someone comes that way at you, it's like they're probably hurting about something. So just be
No,
kind
that's true
and move
too.
on, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
I
true.
learned that from teaching. Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing all the things you're doing as well, because
Yes.
amazingness to come for sure.
Yes, I appreciate that. Definitely on the same path with trying to combine everything because it's a handful, but I'm definitely going to get there because it's what I'm passionate about. So
Yeah,
when you're
awesome.
passionate about something, I definitely feel like you continue to go no matter what.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure, for sure.
All
Awesome.
right.